Okay. So, hi,
Yeah.
Janie.
Hi,
So this is
Jackie.
my first time conducting an interview, so bear with me a little bit here.
No worries. My first time doing an interview, sorry.
First for both of us. Okay, so you just finished. You were going 193, or what were you counting?
I finished the 193. It wasn't necessarily a goal of mine. It was more of a byproduct of many, many years of traveling. But yes, I'm done with 193, heading for 1,301.
Yeah, of course. All right, and what's your background for those that don't know you? So, how did you get into travel? Where are you from? Tell me a little bit about you.
Sure, sure. So I was born in Moscow back in the days when it was the Soviet Union. And when I was growing up, this is where I grew up. When I was growing up, Russia was, or the Soviet Union was rather cut off from the rest of the world. So dreaming of traveling was a little bit like dreaming of going to the moon. uh, the opportunities were non-existent. Um, the future was rather unclear, but my parents bought me a world map when I was a little kid, a preschooler, and that I had that above my bed my entire childhood, uh, and for as long as I remember, I've dreamt of visiting not necessarily every country, but every place and every corner of the world. So I think what moves me is the the thing that's very familiar, I think, to most of us here on NomadMania, the travel bug itself, which I believe is genetic. They've discovered the gene. I don't know if you heard of it.
Okay,
I always
interesting.
forget DRD4/7R. It's
Oh, okay.
the wanderlust gene. So it's an actual. I think most people or all people have the gene, but it's like a mutation. So um, I've met a few people like myself who just simply cannot imagine life without traveling,
Mm.
without moving, which made pandemic extremely interesting. And I did, I did at some point get a special permit to leave Australia when Australia was still closed. But yeah, back to my background. So yes, lived in Moscow until I was 15, and then my family moved to Australia. So I did a little bit of traveling when I was a kid, but obviously just around Russia, and then started. Uh, I mean, I always knew I wanted to do this. So as soon as we moved to Australia, I started working 12-hour days. I pragmatically picked a career that would allow me to have the flexibility and the resources to travel.
Mhm.
And I made sure it was a fast and furious career that I could also quit when time sort of became more important um, than finances. So I've been traveling, you can say, for 2/3 of my life, pretty constantly. While I was working in finance. I probably traveled about 3 months a year. So if my
Okay.
work didn't let me do that, I would quit and get a new job. And then once I've quit finance, I've traveled, with the exception of the pandemic, probably about 7 months a year. But I always have a base here in Australia. My base is where my map is. I was reading your article about home. So my home
Yeah.
is where my map is. This map has
Mhm.
moved to Brisbane and come back to Adelaide, where I am at the moment. But yeah, home is where the map is for me.
I like that. Home is where the map is. Yeah, oh, that's nice. And you said you've been traveling for many years. So would you say you're on the slow travel side, or what is your travel style?
um, Erratic.
Okay.
um, Not necessarily slow. I think I'm very fast, but I it's not it's not a methodical
Okay.
way that I travel. I think, you know, if I had set myself a goal of, say, visiting every country in the world, I think, you know, that might have taken a few years. It would not have taken um 27 years. um the reason why it's taken so long is that I kind of let my trips plan themselves a little bit. So
Okay.
and I really fall in love with places, and I fall in love with continents as well. So um, I've come at some point. I've come to the conclusion that I absolutely have to visit every continent at least once a year. Otherwise, I miss it too much. So
Okay.
I've been doing these circles and these zigzags, and um, where I go next kind of depends on um, what signs the universe gives me, almost more than anything else. So if I start hearing a name of a place here and there, or if I see something in my dream or taste something in the restaurant, that might determine where I'll be going next.
I
I
like
also
that.
believe in developing a sort of a relationship with places like one would with people. So the first time I go to a country, it might be just for a few days to see how we get along, and then from there, we might remain an acquaintance, may or may not come back, or we might become friends, and then I'll just want to come back all the time, or it might be just absolute love affair, and then I'll just make it my second home for a while and just have my, I don't know, India period, and just be going to India all
Mm.
the time for 2 or 3 years, um, and then let that go for a while. So it's been like that. So that there are countries that I've been to 10 times, and even 15 and even 20. So, yes.
So then you have a head start if you're going to do a second time around.
Um, yeah, absolutely. But, you know, like I said, I was never, you know, my general goal was a very vague, and that hasn't changed since I was a kid. It's a very vague, get to know the world and its people, you know, rather than visit any particular, you know, tick off any particular boxes or complete any specific list.
Mm. Cool.
And I think, yeah, that's why a lot of my trips, they don't make a lot of logistical sense. Sometimes I might just jump on a really cheap flight and just go somewhere on a complete tangent where I was never really intending to go. Just recently, I ended up in Uzbekistan for the second and the third time. You know, like the first time I went, I was like, "Oh, this is really nice," but not necessarily my place. So I didn't think I'd be back, but you know, I ended up being back twice in the space of 3 months.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Mm.
it can happen. It's just like a little bit where the wind blows me, a bit like
Yeah, I
that.
like that. More of an impulsive style of
Yeah,
travel. That's nice sometimes.
I
So I
think
know
so.
this is a hard question, but do you have any favorite countries or favorite regions of the world?
Oh goodness, yeah, absolutely, but too many. um, yeah, some countries are always present in my life, just like, you know, my most important people. So, and they're the ones that feel most like home. I think you'd probably understand me well here as someone who's moved to their original place where they were born. That um, once you move, you know, where you come from is not necessarily, does not necessarily feel like home, but where you move to is not 100% home, you know. So sometimes I get these wonderful moments where I feel at home in some, you know, random African village or
Mm.
something. So my favorites are absolutely Colombia,
Okay.
Tanzania, Greece, uh, India. There's a few, Vanuatu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good list. good cross section of all the continents there as well. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So, and I actually don't know, what was your final country?
It was Turkmenistan. Yeah. I would have I would have finished the UN countries in 2020, or at least I had a book. It's just at some point, I think it was 2019, that I realized that I've been to almost every country, and at that point I thought, oh yeah, might as well. And then I planned to go to the rest of them in 2020, but of course that fell apart. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of the UN list because I find it's very colonial. Like France is on 5 continents. There's a few very strange things there. So I'm a much bigger fan of the UN plus list. Or I had my own list that was slightly different. I don't even know where I got it from, but it's the closest to the UN plus list. So I think until I've been to all but 10 UN plus countries. So I think until I go to the rest of those, I'll still feel like a bit of a fraud. That, how can I say I've been to all the countries if I haven't been to my yacht, for example, Pitcairn Island. But hopefully, I am planning to just keep traveling, because a lot of people ask me, well, now that you've been to every country, what are you going to do? I'm like, that's not even a question. It's not even, I mean, it's a milestone, but it's not a biggie for me. Every trip is important for me, and it's not just every trip, it's like every day of every trip is important. And I think every trip changes you, and every day when you travel, you don't go to bed the same person that you woke up. It's just, it's everything that you absorb and all the people that you meet. For me, I'll never stop traveling, ever, for as long as I can walk. Maybe even if I can't walk, I'll still travel.
Yeah, I think the more places you go to, the more you realize how many more there actually are. So you start with 193, 195, 197, and it turns into the 266 UN plus list. And then that turns into the 1,301 list. And you just kind of go on and on from there. Yeah, so absolutely. It goes back to that travel genetics thing you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how did it feel finishing UN countries, though? Was it relieving? Did it feel like the start of the next chapter? What was that like for you?
It was no big. It was kind of like, oh, finally, I was supposed to do that in 2020. So I'm actually I'm going to Africa at the end of this month, and again, I'm doing a trip that I was planning to do in 2020 to Madagascar, some parts that I haven't been to, and my yacht. So again, it's like I think it's like with most things I've achieved in my life. I always feel like, oh, I should have done that ages ago. I'm not very good at celebrating. Maybe once I get to 1,300, I'll celebrate with some champagne.
Yeah, and by then they'll have expanded that list, I'm sure, as well. So it's the never ending.
True that. Yeah. There's always the moon.
Yeah. So is that your next trip then that you have planned to Madagascar? Do you have any other travel planned?
Yeah. So there's that. There's Japan and a few places in Asia, but notably Okinawa. In September, there's Mexico in November, and there's probably India, I'm feeling, at the end of the year. I have to take my son somewhere. He's got big school holidays, and it might be one of his last trips with me. He's 15 now. He's traveled the world with me. His first round the world trip was before he was born. So for as long as he still agrees to travel with me, I'll take him along.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How many countries has he been to?
We haven't counted properly.
Mm.
So I feel it's between maybe about 60. I
Okay.
haven't always taken him because some of my trips are just,
Yep.
absolutely not for kids.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I've taken him on trips that I felt would benefit him more than would make him um, suffer discomfort. Or I haven't taken him anywhere that I felt unsafe.
Mhm.
So yes, but he's been around a few times.
It's a great experience for a kid to be able to see so many different diverse places at that age.
Absolutely. I never had a problem taking him out of school for a couple of weeks. I always felt that he would learn more on the road than
Mhm.
he would at school in that same period. So
Yeah, no,
yes.
of course. So, and I was reading your bio that you wrote, and you've written a book.
I have. It's actually, that was another thing I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. I always thought, I'd travel the world and I'd write a book. Not about me or even my trip so much, but about the world as I saw it. So the world at a particular, um, I can't say point in time, but in a period in time. So this is early 21st century. For as long as I remember, I write almost every day, especially when I travel, I write every day, but it's all, I'm very old school. It's all handwritten and tiny writing, and I've got boxes and boxes of those notes. So at some point, I went and did a master's in creative writing,
Hmm.
but did all the coursework, and then I came to writing a book, and then instead of writing the actual, like, sitting down to write the book, I just went off traveling. And then I thought, okay, I'll write this book when I'm 90, when I'm just old and frail, I'll do it. But then the pandemic hit, and I thought, okay, this is
Mm.
perfect. So I actually sat down every day for a year and a half, and um, merged my four big boxes of notes into one fairly long book, but it's 100 stories.
Okay.
So, and it's at the moment it's 600 pages. So I still, it's a little bit too long. I don't think anyone reads thick books these days. So I have to find a way to either split it into two. But yeah, once I started talking to publishers, which I haven't yet, because at some point I thought, okay, I might as well just um, do this bit of traveling that I can tell publishers, okay, I have been to every country in the world.
Mhm.
Here is the book. Uh, so that's the idea. But the main idea behind the book is to sort of show the world as kind of an expanded version of our own backyard, to sort of show, that timeless Asian saying, same but different,
Mhm.
to show that even though there's so many differences between people and cultures, we really, recent science and genetics prove that we're really much the same, and all the differences are quite superficial and should really be celebrated and not really worth fighting over, and just to show that any place in the world can feel like home.
Okay, I like that. And what's the title?
Tripping all over.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot.
The
Looking
original
forward.
title, the original title was Around the World in 99 Disasters.
Okay,
But
I like that too.
but a friend of mine said that sounds too negative, because it's a very positive book, but there are a lot of, I mean, over the years I've had, you know, just by law of probability, a lot of things happen. I mean, nursed tropical illnesses in the hospitals on every continent, and I had, like gangsters kind of kidnapped me for a bit, and I had baboons steal all my possessions, and I rolled in a derailed train in India,
Oh, wow.
and I've been handcuffed in Burundi. So I did,
Okay.
I kind of I do have a lot of uh, sort of juicy, fun stories in there, but it's not. I guess around the world, 99 disaster sounds like it's all doom and gloom, and it's not at all.
Okay. Oh, that makes me want to read it. Do you have any stories you want to share now? I mean, the gangster story sounds interesting.
Um, yeah, it was in Jamaica, and I'm a big fan of reggae. So I went
Okay.
to the Sumfest, which, or at least at the time, was the biggest reggae festival in the world. I was still a little bit green as a traveler at that point, and after I flew from Australia for 3 days, um, with a terrible jet lag, I went to the opening party of the festival, which was not in Montego Bay, where the rest of the festival was. It was kind of outside in the countryside. So there I was, uh, enjoying myself, and I asked the same taxi driver that came that dropped me off to come and pick me up at 2 o'clock at night. And as we're driving back, I see there's a lot of people on the roadside, and I thought, what's going on? Why are they there? But I was in a sort of, that serious jet lag, tiredness, delirium kind of thing. And then he asked, "Oh, do you mind if I pick up more people, and to make more money?" And I thought, "Oh, fantastic! Yes, of course, make more money. Why not? You're a nice guy." And next thing, I was sitting in the front. Next thing, he picks up these two dudes, and they've got guns, and they have, they squeeze my neck, and they telling him, in their gangster accents, turn here, turn right, and, we're gonna kill you both. I can't do accents for the life of me.
Okay, wow.
But yeah, we drove into the middle of nowhere, and they stole whatever I had, including my key with my hotel mm, name and my room number. And then they stopped and told the driver to open the booth. And I'm thinking, oh, this is where they're gonna put my body. I was too tired to be scared. Sometimes tiredness kind of, and I think in this situation, the main thing is not to be scared and not to panic, because panic's never gonna get you anywhere. Um, so yeah, but they dropped me off in the middle of nowhere, and I hid in the bushes for a while, and then I ran and rang someone's intercom. And people in Jamaica, they know about these things, so they're too scared to open the door for you. So then I hid there for a while, and they called the police, and I was at the police station at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then it became real funny, because the police got a scratched up piece of paper from the dustbin. They straightened it out like that, and they said, "Write down everything that happened." And I'm like, "Where is this gonna go?" I'm like, "You don't understand. They have my key. All my stuff is on the bed. They're gonna steal all my stuff." And I'm like, "Don't worry." But yeah,
Wow.
it's actually, I'm actually very lucky that it ended as it did, because people did get murdered at that
Yeah.
festival, unfortunately, and it does happen in Jamaica. I think I do have very lucky stars, because sometimes, even when I was reading my diaries, I was like, I really did that. I went to see, like, the pygmy village in Central African Republic, with, like, on the motorbike with some dudes I've never met before. Like, what? How am I still alive? But I do think I have extremely lucky stars that look after me. and I do try to follow my intuition, and I think I'm getting a lot better at that these days, because before there was barely a big trip where I didn't have to make some sort of an insurance claim because all my stuff got stolen, or I was in hospital, or something always used to happen. But now I'm actually quite capable of roaming around for a couple of months and come home with just, I don't know, a twisted ankle or something.
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah. And it always becomes a good story then in hindsight. So at least you get a story out of some of these more
and I think
disaster type of
you always
situations.
learn something. I think as long as you learn something, there's no such thing as a bad day.
Yeah.
Even if you have like the most horrendous day and everything went wrong, but if you learn something, and not necessarily about the situation, but about yourself, for example, and how you react to things, that's a good day, because we're here in this world to learn. So you can't all be smooth, otherwise learning becomes an extremely lengthy process. It kind of just speeds it up a little bit, I think, when you get bad days.
Yeah. No. That's good. Yeah. I'm looking forward to reading the book when it comes out. So hearing more of these stories.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
publishing is another, I'm very bad at marketing myself. So I do have, you might have seen my Instagram account, which I haven't touched in 4 years. And it's not, I have plenty of interesting pictures, but it's just tedious for me.
No, I understand.
I need a marketing manager if there's any volunteers out there.
So I think we're running a little bit short of time, so I have to ask you NomadMania's famous question.
Absolutely.
So if you could
Can
pick,
I just add one more thing, which I haven't
yeah,
mentioned, but it is such an
please.
integral part of my travels that I absolutely have to mention it. Couch surfing. I would not have been able to do this traveling without couch surfing. It was always couch surfers who saved my life a few times. That's for one. Helped me get visas many times.
Mhm.
And just generally, I always feel like unless and until I connect with someone from a country, I feel like I haven't even been there properly. So I'm not a big fan of technology necessarily, but this is the one website that I'm so grateful for, and I have used since I think the year it started, or the year after 2006, and yeah, it's just been an absolute blessing. Yes. Sorry, signature question.
No, it's great. I feel similar about NomadMania. It's really been it's been great for trip planning for me. So I'm always very grateful to have it as a resource when I'm looking at where I want to go. And so I understand. Yeah,
I'm new to NomadMania. I'm new, and it's been a very exciting. I've only joined this year, and it's been so
really?
exciting. Yeah, it's been so exciting, like ticking off all the regions and having a look. Like you said, what else is there? I love that. They're my favorite two websites: Couchsurfing and NomadMania. That's it.
Yeah. I looked at your map earlier this morning. It's a very impressive map with the regions colored
Thank
in.
you.
So,
Yeah, I just had to copy
very
from
jealous.
this map. That's all I had to do.
All right. So the famous question then.
Yeah.
So if you could pick 3 or 4 people from any time in history to have dinner with, who would you choose and why?
Yes. So I'm going to be very quick with this one. I've never had any desire to meet anyone famous. So I'm going to say my 2 grandfathers, who are both extraordinary people that I didn't get to know as well as I would have liked, and a friend who passed way too early.
Okay.
The industry people. And we're right on time.
No, good answers. Oh, all right. Well, thank you, Janie, for making time for this today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank
it was
you.
really nice meeting you and getting to know you a
So
little
nice
bit
to
better.
meet you.
Oh, it's been
I
great.
so appreciate what you were doing there in Sudan. I was so impressed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, hoping the best for the situation.
Yeah, I have a very dear friend of mine is there, and I've been
Oh,
trying to get hold of him, and I can't for the last 2 weeks. So he's
okay.
Sudanese. But yeah, I'm super, super worried.
Okay, yeah, we can talk after. I still have a lot of contacts on the ground there, so maybe can figure out
Right.
where he is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. It's just waiting then for Oris to pop back in.
Yeah, I think